Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last.
That was the great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, who having the time of his life in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania this weekend for the Play Music Conference. His name is Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ Blues is in the building. Easy Blues, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us again on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, there is many things you can learn in life when you sit back and you watch. When you realize that your eyes can carry your soul, when you can truly depend on the visuals to carry the narrative, it is by far one of the best times of your life when there is truly that aspect and your eye can capture that perfect moment. This next man has spent a career finding everybody's perfect moment and is able to spin that, build that, and create that. This man can take your audio project and elevate it to a visual you've never expected. This man has worked with families such as the amazing Jahan Nostra and Chesky Ramos. This man is now successful with a crowdfunding campaign to launch his next project. I want you to put your hands together, not physically, but only mentally, because physically, keep your hands at 10 and 2 because you're driving. But mentally, put your hands together for the amazing Edwin Escobar. How you doing? Welcome, Benvenu.
Man, thank you for having me again. That's a great PR run. Fire my PR right now. You're hired.
He does his best.
I'm telling you, I'm about to start that Cameo thing and like offer this for people to like gas them up for like their big business work. Like, oh, I got a big business meeting today. Oh, $25.99 on Cameo. Hi, how are you? But this isn't about me. I've been talking about me all weekend. My voice is still sort of a little sore and raspy. But
ooh, I bet.
Edwin, man, we've had you on the show before. Obviously, you are a phenomenal director, but you're stepping into this brand new stuff. You talked about it a little bit on the show last time, but now it's like fully in fruition. And super congratulations! Crowdfunding is super important, but also one of the most difficult things to do. I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit about that, and what it's like to truly put yourself out there for the people to really see you and at some points to see the struggle of, oh my goodness, we might not make the campaign. Right. So congratulations on making the campaign. But what were some of the steps you decided to go into to get into crowdfunding? And if you could, for the people playing the home game, what exactly is crowdfunding?
So I've never done it before. I've never asked for, in any way, shape, or form, I've never asked for investors or crowdfunding. It's not my personality. I'm not one of those people who jump on people's inboxes and stuff. And I've tried GoFundMe, I've tried Kickstarter, and they just really it didn't work because I didn't put the work in. So I'll be first to admit I didn't do what it takes. It's a whole different art form, right? And you have to get out of your shell. So crowdfunding is pretty much just reaching out mostly to social media. I think only on social media, really, to raise funds for a project. And typically you have incentives that you give back, right? So hopefully something that doesn't cost you what you just raised, right?
Right.
So, exactly. A percentage of it. Some people do merchandise, which I've never done this, so I wouldn't jump on that. But that's essentially what it is. So as we spoke before, we did a share of films. I did a share of films during the pandemic on a shoestring budget. They did well. And I've done a lot for hire. That's what I do for a living. But this time, I had just finished editing. Well, I was the DP and editor for a film called Deport. written and directed by Joel Roman. Shout out to him. He had no problem sharing his process. And there's this company out of LA called Avenida Productions, and they have a crowdfunding arm. The difference is they coach you.
Oh, okay.
They will bug you, and they're like, "Don't be shy." And I was a little resistant at first. I was like, "Well, I don't inbox people. I do work. I send you an invoice, and then it doesn't have to be transactional, but it's always business as usual." So they walked me that, like, the young lady Fanny was like, she was like, "Look, you're not scamming anybody. Don't have the what, I forgot the name of it, the imposter syndrome that you're not begging." It's like in a proof, right? I have 167 contributors, a little over $10,000 in 30 days. And the challenge was, I was in charge pretty much. Anytime I let down, I noticed that there was not a lot of interaction. But when I follow the coaching, every day they'll send you a message. Hey, you should do this. Maybe do this. And it does take, like, I stopped making a lot of my memes and jokes. I got serious about the crowdfunding, but it was a learning experience, but it was successful. But it's very intuitive. It's very intuitive. And again, the coaching made all the difference to me. So it's a combination of the coaching and then digging into the group that values you, right? And these are clients and fans and people that that have been. So we targeted Facebook because that's really my platform. Even though the algorithms don't let you interact a lot, the process that the coaching gives you lets you kind of exploit that a little bit. There's people that I thought were not on social media anymore that contributed because I broke the cycle. Don't tell Mark though.
No one has to know. No one has to know.
Our little secret. Our little secret.
Well, it's super interesting because, if you do talk to a lot of the branding and marketing professionals, they do state that Facebook is kind of the last type of medium where you want to look for stuff like that. But you have to understand your demographic. And for you, your demographic is hitting Facebook. And for a lot of the people this past weekend, their demographic, they were pushing hardcore Instagram and TikTok. How did you know that Facebook was your demographic to really make this campaign work?
Well, again, I kind of knew it, but it was confirmed when I answered a few questions from the coach and from the platform that do it. And by the way, this is a couple of is a Latino husband and wife who are in LA, and they got tired of the red tape and they got tired of giving shitty roles. I'm sorry, crappy roles, and they started a company to help crowdfunding and also tell the stories without always jumping on the stereotype. Their story is amazing. And they do coach you again, and they help. Like, this is a problem that I always had in my market. It's like great ideas, great concepts, no money. And that you hit that wall and it's over.
That seems to be the fate of a lot of incredible art out there. I mean, I know 1.5 million different musicians, different artists that are probably, I would consider, the best in the world, that just can't get that financial support because this is not a cheap business, and at the end of the day, there is that whole, you have to spend money to make money.
True.
When you don't have the money to spend to make back, you have to start to really look at the different options, and whether that be busking on the streets or doing like the crowdfunding. And also, I love the fact that you're talking so much about the mentorship that went into this specific project for the crowdfunding itself, because it's a complete and total art form. One of the coolest points of advice that I'd actually gotten about crowdfunding was, steal like an artist. Go onto some of these platforms that do the crowdfunding and go on with like $5 and then just donate, go to the different projects, pick 5 different projects and donate. So then you start to actually get the emails on what that's going, what they're doing, what they're offering, how they're changing, how they're interacting, and do that for like a month. And you're constantly getting those updates. And then you can see what works for them and see how you can change that for what's going to work for you. One of the coolest things that I saw you doing for this project was, anytime, whether it be any increment of money, did a personal shout out on your page during Facebook, celebrating that investor, that person who saw your vision and saw your dream, was like, hey, I'm totally into this. I'm going to throw some cash in there. Was that something you were trying to do? Was that something that you did naturally, or was that something that you were coached to do?
I was coached to do it the right way. I did it wrong the first time. So I would go through a batch, and like
Mm-hmm.
when three people came in, I'm like, I
Right.
put them all in a post, but I didn't put any pictures up. I just tagged them,
Right.
right? So the young lady, Fanny, she was like, you almost got it, but
Mm-hmm.
again, don't tell Mark, but the algorithm loves pictures. So a picture of
Mm-hmm.
where the money is at and a picture of the
Mm-hmm.
person, one by one. If you get five
Right.
in an hour, 5 in an hour. It doesn't matter if it seems repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna land on their page and people are gonna see it. And I saw a big burst at a certain time where I think some people that there's waves of people. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
have friends, people that I know that were ask, hey, I see you doing something, and then we have an hour conversation about a million
Right.
things but that, like the elephant in the room. But
Mm-hmm.
on the fourth quarter, they all came in with substantial amount. Some people watch
Right.
it, see what you're gonna do and how you're gonna go, and then they jump in. And I mean, you can try to break a noggin, trying to
Mm-hmm.
strategize, but really, what it is people are at different times. Financially, we're not in the best place right now as far as
Right.
people. So, I always thought about like, damn, you don't really have to do this at all. But a
Right.
lot of people wanted to be invested, and it also gives you this accountability. It's so public that I always finish what I start. But for
Right.
anybody that has any of those last minute, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. That like now there's a little bit of that good pressure to get
Mm-hmm.
it done, and then you realize how big your inner circle is, because the strategy is start with your inner circle, and then they'll spread the words, and then you start seeing all the strangers giving. I was like, 167 people that donated. I know each and every one of them,
Right. And
so that
that's
works.
first of all, that's amazing. And that's, and to have those different, relationships, people forget, you know, how important an actual relationship building is in any type of industry, in life
Mhm.
in general. But really, because of the person that you are and how you connect with people on a personal level, these 100+ people have connected with you and want to invest in you and see something in you that they want to put out there. So for all the artists that are playing the home game at home, really every single interaction you have out there in the world, it could be that one. It could be that one that gets you into that different door. It could be that one that drops that extra $5 on your crowdfund campaign, that gives you the green light, and you can keep the percentage that you're supposed to give. That one conversation, that one person, and man, it happens, and we're all human. You can be burnt out, you can be stressed out, you can be fizzled to the end, but still try to just connect. And it could be
Yeah,
something as simple as, yo, thank you guys for coming out to the show today, or oh, it's so cool to see you out here tonight, or on that Facebook post, actually comment back, or and like that. I love the fact that you posted each individual time, whether it was 5 times an hour or not, because what other people don't seem to understand is that's also feeding the algorithm. You're
yeah.
pushing out more content out there as well, but you're also giving back to the algorithm, because those people that do comment, you're going to comment on
Hmm.
it, but you can't constantly take from it either. And that's how you kind of manage that algorithm. And I will tell Mark, ha.
Yeah, I mean, it's there for you to use. It's there for you to
Right.
use. Uh, when Facebook was a free for all, when it was the expansion of the Wild West. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a lot of my career was because I would post anything and everybody saw it, and it became like
Mm-hmm.
engraved because I was doing 3, 4 videos a week, so that just
Right.
became the norm for like years. Then later on it started shrinking a little bit, but that's their business model. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can have the conversations, but it really is like if you know how to use it, it's not like, oh, you broke the algorithm, you're gonna be banned. It's more like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we getting what we like, and you getting what you like, it works. If you get enough interaction, enough people to be exposed to the advertisements and exposed to whatever, that's the name of the game. So things are there to be used, and it's an entity. This isn't an emotion. You have to have that emotional intelligence and not, at least use it to your advantage. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. That's awesome. Prestige, man, what do you got to say about all this amazing stuff we got rocking and rolling today?
What inspired you for Left, the movie? Tell me. I gotta know.
So I started writing out of necessity, like I said, during the pandemic. And believe it or not, if you go back to my post, I'm gonna find that memory. And
Okay.
2020, in the beginning of 2020, when the word COVID was just like a leftover at the bottom of the news pages, I asked, it was like, if you have a script, we'll find a way to fund it. I didn't even know how we were gonna do it. Send it to me. I have 3 scenes, 10 pages, blah blah blah. No one responded. Anyway, pandemic came. I have the equipment. I've never sat on my butt for so long until people were fighting over toilet paper. And I was like, I have the cinema camera. I have the sound equipment. I have a property that I live in, and I can do whatever I want. I'm doing something. So I wrote out of a necessity, and I found my niche in writing, which is thrillers and psychological, because it's mostly cinematography.
Right.
Like comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I might be funny on Facebook sometimes, and with my
Sure.
friends. But to write a comedy, you got to pretty much write a drama. You have to write a drama and be funny. That's how you write a good
Right.
comedy, right?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. So my first one, Tenet, is a lot of cinematography, some dialogue. So, and I did a bunch of other ones. I got busy again. This is what I do for a living. But having a daughter now, she's 19 months. I'm staying home a little more, and sitting is not my thing. And
Right.
she's a little more self-sufficient. I finished editing The Port. I saw the process. I got excited again about taking on a passion project, and my wife is a big part of this because she works a lot. But we found a nice schedule that I can focus on the film and still do what I need to do, right?
That's great.
I always had this idea in my head about that my grandmother's 102 years old and she does have dementia, right? But it's not about her. The film is not about her, but I've seen her go through a lot. But I've always had this thing, like I don't know how people put their, and I get when people do put people in a home when you're like completely a danger to yourself and you're unable to care for someone, absolutely, and it's heartbreaking. But
Right.
I did a music video this before before I did The Port. I did a music video and we went to do a documentary piece at my client's father's assisted living facility. And as we were walking to him, I saw people just sitting in chairs looking at the wall, and I'm like, oh my God, this is why I'm like, whatever it takes, we're gonna keep my grandmother at home. And I started imagining, hey, and I was with the lead actor, Stephen Edmund, and I was like, damn, that's sad. And then I was like, damn, imagine you don't know that you belong here and you're running around here, they won't let you leave, and like, because that's what happens when you have dementia. So that's what in my head. I did The Port, and then one night I was like, I'm gonna write about this. I started, I kind of gave up, wait another week, and I completely finished the process with The Port. I'm done with the contract. The premiere is out. I saw it could be done, and I asked the director, I was like, how did you crowdfund? He was like, dude, go to support a story, follow the coaching, and you get it, bro. So before I did that, I was like, I need a script. I can't do this on an idea. So I set myself to do, since I'm gonna raise the money for it, let me challenge myself, and instead of 1 or 2 actors, I'll have 10. Let me give each one of these a quick start so it can become a series. So my lead actor is the first story, and as we stand, it should be about a 22-minute short, which I can pitch as a pilot too. Everybody here is affected because as I started fundraising and I explained what inspired me, which was like dementia and people being left behind. People started connecting with with dementia and how it affects them. I don't know how many people. I don't know if it's something in the food for a certain generation or we just living longer. But people were like, "Oh my God! Like my grandmother passed from this, or I'm still dealing with this with my mom." How to forgetting your identity, who you are. So again, I'm a thriller writer. That's my niche. So I'm like, I want to make a movie that's scary, but not about a demonic entity or the paranormal, because I don't really buy into that. And I'm tired of the genre. It's always a kid in a house in Connecticut. Bro, how many times are you going to do it? So, like, Jordan Peele took scary from what he considers scary, which is it had to do with racial tension and the things that do happen behind closed doors with, with certain things. And he made art out of it. So there's nothing scarier than being locked in your head and not knowing who you are.
And there's nothing scary about being on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. We got the genius Edwin Escobar here on Behind the Brand. Edwin, I'm very sorry to interrupt. You just had to do the protocol. Go right ahead, sir.
I read the email. You're good.
Yeah.
He's so smooth. So smooth, though. So smooth.
So no, that was a good one. That was like,
It's good.
But yeah, so you know that's I'm also developing my identity as a filmmaker. Even though I've been doing, I've done over 3,000 music videos at this point. That is like an automatic, and that's how I've been telling stories. But I've been telling other people's stories for so long, and I want to start telling my stories.
Of course.
But the dementia concept became so important that I did alter the film to make it more on the nose. Because I always have a fear, again, that there's the imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I don't want people to feel this is a gotcha. And they think because some people that had to like address, some people were like, oh, I love that you're doing a documentary over this. Let me know how I can help. And I'm like, wait, there's not a documentary about dementia. This is a movie. It's a scary movie at face value, but I want you to know that it's not based on paranormal stuff. It's based on the mental illness is the scariest thing in the world. You don't have to have, we have, how people say, we have our own demons in our head. And it's the same thing. Being locked in your own head and stuff is always, so I love movies like Shutter Island and things that really make you like, questioning your reality is a big theme. Even talking about Skynet and leading to the Matrix. It's like, are we plugged in? You'll never know. But if you're crazy, you don't know it. That's one of the characteristics of being nuts. You won't know. But your identity is a big thing. It's scary. Like my grandmother, 102-year-old, the matriarch, and just seeing her just lose her ability to rule over the family and just become like what she sometimes may feel like a burden, and lucid moments, because lucid moments are scary too. Like waking up 2 years later, like, I can't walk anymore. Like what? Right. So it's scary. But that was the inspiration.
You brought that into reality, brother. But easy, a light bulb went above your head, man. Go ahead and speak.
Yeah, no, it's just really interesting because so many people kind of push away and only identify like the horror genre as a paranormal aspect or stuff like that. But it's when you can actually play on the societal beliefs and you can tweak that. The Exorcist is one of the most incredible horror movies out there, and yes, there's a little bit of that paranormal in there, but it's a lot of playing with the tropes that are beaten into us through Catholicism and really tweaking in that type of aspect. That's the stuff that draws you in. So to really take the concept of yes, obviously mental health is a huge talking point and has been something that people have been facing, especially coming out of the pandemic. But now to take that next level and add the dementia aspect in there and truly being trapped inside your own head. I don't know if you remember, but Metallica, the video for One, was actually based off of a movie very similar to that, where a gentleman, kind of passes out and then wakes up and has no arms and no legs and is just trapped in a box. And the entire movie is just, and this is, I think, in like a 50s movie. But then it becomes part of the video for Metallica's One. And to this day, it's still just as creepy because you have no control. And to really convey that aspect and then to paint a human face on it, because we all know somebody. We all know someone who's been touched by this. We all know someone who's been related to someone like this. We've all had that conversation, even in mainstream commercial kind of stuff right now. The Connors, the grandmother character is now dealing with severe onset dementia. So literally you struck the iron is super hot right now for this to come through. And I love the fact that it actually, and that's what I love about this came from such a genuine place. So right now the lightning is there for you to strike. And I'm so looking forward to where that next evolution comes from.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
No, man, no matter what, yes, I trumpet everything that is CT and everything that is Elm City. But honestly, I've been a fan of what you do for a very long time, and anything I can do to try to help get to that next level, except for the fact that I'm broke and I couldn't have donated. I'm trying to start my own crowdfunding campaign. to pay the bills. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, I'm definitely gonna be here
have
for
had
that.
a lot of help. I had a lot of just an encouraging word, just acknowledging.
Yeah.
You know, this is already like scary for me to be emailing or DMing people. So even just like, hey, I see what you're doing. I don't got it right now, but keep doing your thing. I mean, that's enough. That's always enough. And again, when you on the mindset and you're not like, this isn't personal, this isn't you, and then you have positive things to focus on instead of like, oh, this person didn't respond or I mean everything and anything. I've had people respond, but like you should be doing this instead, like with their own ideas, and it's like it's feedback, cool, but you know you don't spend time on that or dwelling on it or feeling like that's not what I'm asking for. It's like okay, you know, some people know how to deflect really well, and again because I'm not one of those, and it's for me. I'm not selling on behalf of anybody else. I'm not selling a product or marketing level, whatever you call those. Like there's a product that's gonna get done here, but if you don't, I completely understand because it's not a great financial time for most. You know, eggs are the new the people about to be fighting over eggs next.
Ooh, you ain't lying about that.
But thank goodness I know a whole bunch of people who own chickens.
Hey Edwin, what's harder, writing the script or pitching the script?
For me, I guess getting started, but once I start, it usually is like a one-nighter and then a bunch of editing later. But the editing is easier because it's like ideas pop up. I'm like, oh, this scene can use this, whatever. Pitching the script is, I don't really have to pitch the script. For example, this company doesn't really they don't ask you for the script. They don't need it. They, you know, you really shouldn't be just sending it out, protected or not. It should be closed in. The people I had in mind, so I didn't do a big audition. The people I had in mind, everybody was in it. They're still in it. There was only one person that, because her job and time couldn't commit. And that's also, that's support to me because you're not wasting my time either. So I found someone else, but all my actors are pretty much invested. Some of them actually put money in the crowdfunding, which was like reversal of like, okay,
wow,
awesome. Because I'm budgeting to make sure everybody's gas is paid, that we have food. This is all the way, like, get all the liability insurance to make sure that we're all good, locations, all this stuff. Pitching it wasn't hard because I didn't have to pitch it to. So I have two investors that came in on an equity end, right?
Okay.
And that's separate from the crowdfunding, which gives me a lot of room to my goal is to send this to 100 film festivals. So the average cost is $35 for submission.
Okay.
So that's $3,500.
That's $3,500 right there.
Yeah, but I want to send it because I know we could do it. I'm gonna send it to the ones I won first, and a bunch of different ones, and hopefully be able to travel to the ones that we win and all that stuff. But I didn't have to really pitch it. I sent it to 4 people that personally I know were in a good place. And just to see, and they're people I grew up with and I know, and they're good and professionals, and they were in already. They were just pretty much waiting for me all these years to pitch something to them. I sent it to them. They came in. I sent the paperwork. My executive in charge, which was my first investor, helped me organize my thoughts and emails and stuff, so that way pitching was easier. And they read it, but they loved the script. They had to see the script just to get an idea of what I wrote, but it touched everybody. Like, again, one of my investors is dealing with his father, and he's not even in the country. And, sometimes he has to just fly out because it might be the time, right? It's a lot. So I know what he brought in, my other guy brought in, because I'm friends with him, and I know my lead actor through him, and he just always believed in me in so many different ways, since I used to make beats of the generator, and I had the Dunkin' Donuts crates as the room insulator. I don't know anything about acoustics, and they were pretty much waiting for me to be like, but that's my personality, and they know that I wasn't going to come correct until I was ready with a longer script, at least over 20 minutes. My average has been 10 minutes per short. More actors, location wise. I mean, our most expensive set, it's a medical facility, the only one that looks close enough to a nursing home, and not a lot of red tape. Having the insurance is good. It opens a lot of doors, but it's not cheap. They wanted some bread, right? But that's understandable. That's what I'm fundraising for. Like every dollar here has a purpose, and if we go under, then we know what we can, have things that are like that I don't really need. Like for example, I have a good set of lenses, but if I got some money left over, I'm renting some better cinema lenses, right? But it's not gonna make or break the movie because it's not really, it's not this big, showcase. I'm gonna rent some vintage lenses, if anything. They have that nice look, though. But yeah, so uh, having these people by my side has been great, and it just kind of reinforces that my purpose is being fulfilled, and I'm growing. I don't feel stagnant. Last year was feeling stagnant. Back from the pandemic, um, and like, okay, music videos. Am I gonna be 50 doing music videos? I don't know, man. I gotta do something. Like those little thoughts that come in your head. But pitching, it wasn't the hard thing.
Right.
Location scouting was, because at this point, it's not just about the money. Like I mentioned, it's about, but what are you doing again? And why do you need to be here? We got to do a HIPAA sweep when we go there. There has to be 3 people present that to make sure before we start rolling. They do and I'm okay with that. I'd rather take our time and not put anybody in a bind. You know what I mean? That's a big thing. HIPAA's, they're there for a reason.
You want to move correctly.
Getting started, is the problem. Is the biggest challenge. Is this big like push? It's like when you want to work out, and that first day you're like, man, I don't really want to. So, but once you do, it's just like da 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 da. And then I do some editing. I let people read it. Um, I have a role, a doctor, and a character that's a doctor. So that, for example, I'm pretty much revising every day as I watch different shows, as I study a little bit of it. I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound real anymore. So I would say starting to write the script is the most challenging.
Okay.
No, it's really interesting because you just touched on something that I think a lot of people who think that they are sitting at home, oh, I could totally write a script. Yes, but you have to also understand that you're writing for different people, that not everyone is going to be your voice in your narrative, and you have to be humble enough to understand that, this is a different person. So you have to do that research. It's not like what Edwin would say if he was, a doctor in this situation. It's what this doctor who you were creating, and luckily, you've been talking with the actors and stuff. Now, do you try to craft the character to the actor's natural personality, or did you just kind of luck out and find the right people to click?
So I wrote them with definitely wrote it for my lead actor, and the first few characters I wrote, I didn't really have people in mind. I just wrote them just with enough, I guess, real that we can build on the character, and I've been building on them as we approach the day of filming.
Right.
But I found the people that I wanted, but it was through an immediate network that I didn't even know I had. Again, some of the actors I used, we just did the port movie and they were in it, so I sweeped a couple of them, and they fit because one of them is like, this guy looks like the doctor. Like he's gonna be a doctor. Like, he played a completely different character, but I picked people also on their leadership skills and their ability to work with others. Being that I'm not paying them life-changing money, or being able to fly them all out to places, and like when you can get like real, like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this for you. I wanted them to be happy to be in the film first, excited, but also leadership. I give you an example. Abe Perez, he was in the port. His role in the port, I watched him act while I was doing all the filming. But besides that, watching him act, I watched him lead and help others get out of holes and out of moments of confusion, and like the self-beating moments. So that's another thing that I look, because I think actors are team members. When you're working in a production, a small budget production, you're all team members. If you talk about the Hollywood joints, when you cut, you go to your trailer and do whatever you do in the trailer. Like Will Smith and his 80-footer or whatever. That's they're just entities, and they have PR, and they got these bubbles around them. So they're not really a team, but they are actors. They do their thing. The chemistry works. But while we're on the ground and nobody's really on the celebrity status, we're a team, and we help. And I have actors again that not only did they contribute, while we're not filming, they're like, I'll do boom operation if you need to. so you don't got to really overspend on that end. So they're willing, they're willing to change other roles, which is great to have those names in different sections on your credits. It shows that is a team, that is teamwork.
Right.
So I picked them. Yeah, I wrote the character, pick people that fit for the look and the acting, but then also narrow down the decision to like, is this going to be a team player, and what is this going to be mean? What is this going to mean to them that they actually care about it as much as I do?
Right.
Especially when people are sending me money to get this done.
Oh yeah, word. That definitely changes the entire face of everything. Because hey, having the idea is amazing. Being jazzed to have that idea is amazing. Having a couple people super energized to support you is amazing. But then actually having that money behind it.
Before I forget, because this is another part, I want to go back to Preston's question.
Yeah.
The hardest part for me was not is starting to write, but what I will tell other people, anyone that wants to write anything, please take the time and learn how to write a screenplay properly, because it's gonna cost you more money. Like if you write longhand and just first of all, I don't know what I'm looking at. There's no way to tell what dialogue was not. And then, for example, when people bring me that, I have to charge you to do adaptation, and that costs you hourly. That money could go to a whole other set of different things for your film.
Oh, wow,
and some people have it, whatever.
That's real interesting.
And I mean, I have to tell some people. There's a lot of creatives around me, and we share ideas. And I have to be like, bro, learn it. I had to teach myself. Or there's a program that you only got to pay when you're ready to print the thing, and it's Celtics. Not to give them free promo, but I mean they're the most easy and the most user friendly, and the more they don't seem like they're a cash grab. They really help you, because a lot of people write on it, or whatever your choice is. Learn to write it from the beginning. Don't do an idea and then adapt it. You cost yourself money and time. I start straight from the way it's supposed to be. So do yourself that favor, or no one's reading that. Like I read it and then I tell you what it's gonna cost to make it happen. But you hand somebody a concept on an email, then they're not even opening that. Like you said, different departments have to read differently. They have their eyes got to go to a certain place. If you're familiar with a screenplay, it's not to be fancy or uppity. It's because your actors know where to go. The eye goes. This is like formatted over years, and it works, and it keeps working, and there's no reason to change it. And some people think you're just being Hollywood. Like, why I gotta write it like that? Like, bro, like, because how you gonna build a house if you don't have a standard blueprint? Like, electricians know what to look for. That's their department. The plumbing guy knows, so it's just done so that I can go to that. So like, your slug is for the cinematographer, and even if you're doing 5 jobs, you have to. That's what I consider dressing for the part in the film industry. Like, do things if they make sense logically to make the process easier. It's not being Hollywood. Do it right. So that's one thing I would tell everybody: learn to write a screenplay the right way from the beginning.
From the beginning on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Blues is in the building. We got director Edwin Escobar with us. Easy. Very sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead, brother.
No, see, this is what is absolutely incredible, because and there is so much history that's out there, and now some of that history has become pop culture. They just did, if you have the Paramount app, they just did a whole thing about the making of The Godfather, and that was a big aspect. You had this incredible book, but that book needed to be adapted into a screenplay so that it could be a movie. It's not like they took the book and just threw it at the actors and be like, okay, do what you have to do. They had to really go in there and craft out the characters and craft out the dialogue. And that format is so super important. As someone who has done acting and different type of things, I know that as it runs down, you have that blurb for the stage direction. You should have, as per some type of notes in parentheses, how to project or where the character's motivation is coming from. All of that has to be in this particular format. And the more work you put in on the ground floor as the person writing this screenplay, the less work that has to be outsourced, and a lot more of your vision can be put in there. That's a huge thing when you're given the concept and, okay, can you adapt this? I'm going to adapt it, but understand it's adapting. I'm taking from this and putting me in this as well. It's going to be my point of view now going through there, or me trying to understand your point of view of how something goes on. The further out you get, the less of yourself will be in there. So maybe by the time the movie is released, it has your title. That's about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's nothing to what you thought it was going to be. It's a story that we hear in the music industry all the time. You have songwriters that I wrote this incredible heartbreaking piece and it's turned into a pop song, that is so sugary and saccharin filled that you've got to start taking diabetes shots and take your insulin. But this is what happens when you give up that freedom, and by having somebody have to do that, by not doing your own homework, by not getting in there and hustling. Look, man, you could have sat and you could have, got more investors without the crowdfunding aspect, but more of your vision would have been taken away. I think that is one of the most incredible things about doing these crowdfunding campaigns is us as artists can stand in there and truly keep as much creative control as we can about that. If you go to a record label, they're going to see something in you and want to push that particular thing over and over again because it's destined to make money. But if you can go to a label with a full thing and results already out there, you have more control of your product. You have more control of how you are perceived. And it's the same exact thing in the film industry. And I love the comparisons. And I also love that you're going through the same steps as, the guy that directed Charlie's Angels and, all these other people who started out in music videos. People forget that was John Landis directed Moonwalker or directed Thriller. These are phenomenal, big time, movie directors that's had their start really in the video aspect of it, and now you are now taking that huge step out there yourself, man. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
what does it feel like to kind of be part of that pop culture history?
Well, it's for other people to tell. I think the impact. I think the impact, obviously, in our I would say a local market, because even though there's an indie section, that is also infiltrated with scams, corruption, money. It can be almost more toxic than your industry with set terms that people just don't read, right? So there's the underserved. There's an underserved part of my indie that just we're not the cool guys. We don't. And I don't believe you gotta like or work with everybody. Just because you can connect with 1 billion people on an app, we really, it's hard to maintain 1 million relationships. And it work, if you have a relationship with a client, you only see them once a year, twice a year, you know how they are, but you keep your, you really don't have only but 24 hours a day. And if you have family and other things, you can't nurture 100 close friendships. So, and at the same time, as a business, unless you have workers out there, like I don't, like when it's a one-on-one thing, you really have to manage your lifestyle so that you don't start having to do more than you want to, or that's going to affect you, right? Because you don't need to be in every crowd, in every circle. Like I said, like the word indie is now like, okay, but are you indie like, because I'm indie, but I'm a service provider, so I've never struggled like an artist does. So an artist has to put a lot of money into their craft, and if they might not know how to make it back, or they may just might have it, but still not. It's an expense. It hasn't become an investment. Or it hasn't turned into an investment. So like I could say I'm indie, but I can never complain about the struggles. My struggles are more about red tape, placement. But the more I grow, the more I understand. Is like, if there's a place that it's not everything's for you, and it's not a circus. That circle's not for you. You create your own path. So, again, I want to tell stories my way. I want to, my cast is just, I wasn't looking for diversity. I live in diversity. So it just so happens that I have people from all backgrounds, but they're playing all these roles that have nothing to do with what, if you're an extra in a certain film, you want to, if you're the black guy, you got to play the black guy to what they want you to play. And you can see that on Law and Order. You can see that on any of these. And it's just, look, it's theater. I get it. Like, but look, it's it's the movie business, and there's machines that are moving. there's money invested, and this is the look we need you to do. But
Yeah.
there's a million other stories that may not seem profitable right now, but they will become profitable because, again, this is a step for me to make this a sustainable thing and repeat it.
Right.
So,
Right.
but it can be sustainable with little investment, and it'll be hard for me to do, say, go to the Bijou and say I can fill this theater up with a 10-minute short. It's a little too short. Like I gotta
Right.
hit the 20-minute mark, but now I have the dementia conversation. So the premiere is not just gonna be the short; it's gonna be Q&A, the short film, and a conversation about the inspiration. And it's really
Right.
almost tending for creatives, but it's gonna be more than just the short when it's a longer short, and it's more. I think it's gonna be more fulfilling. Um, and if my actors are down and we get some extra time on each set, I have more scenes to add that
Right.
are relevant to it. So um, yeah, I'm just really excited to get this started.
I love how you say, if they're down and we have the time, I have more scenes to add. That's something that I really, in any type of art that I get involved in, I'm a big fan of having too much and then, being able to whittle that down
Mm-hmm.
to the perfect piece of art instead of just having just enough and then you whittle down and then there's something missing. How do you know, when to add and when you just have that perfect, you know, I'll say chord because I'm a musician, but that perfect piece, you know what I mean?
Right. So it's not perfect because the goal is to, again, the thing about writing that I've learned that I picked up is when you write a character, every movie has a universe, right? And it might be our universe if you want to go deep into the whole MCU, all that stuff. Meaning
Yeah.
it belongs in this plane. There's some rules that you follow. Like Star Wars universe, it's crazy. It's
Hmm.
like it's so complex, right? So
Right.
no matter what, there's a universe, and all like I said, all these characters have like this short film is about this moment in this character's life, but his life started long ago and is gonna end much later. So if there's more budget, more time, there I know my character, so I can predict what he's gonna do. So
Yeah.
at this point, it's almost like an algorithm, right? So if we,
Hmm.
let's we have a diner scene. He sees his ex girlfriend. How is he gonna act, right? And how is it gonna add to the story, right? Because we're not just gonna add random scenes that just to add, right? So I give you an example. I have an additional scene because I went to the package store and they know me and I'm in this mood of telling people what I'm doing, which I never do. And I'm like, oh, I'm fundraising for this. If you guys feel generous, these guys got money.
Mhm.
So I'm like, and they actually like amateur filmmakers or whatever, and like they like to do videos and stuff. They got their own hobbies and stuff. So they were interested, and I ended up coming up with a scene. I'm like, oh, what if my character, who is a recovering alcoholic, because I'm throwing in substance abuse with mental health because they go hand in hand.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, if he walked in here, but he's got a coin, he would be really like scared and anxious if he walked into the store. What if he came in here drunk and spilled all the wine and didn't have the money to pay for it? Let me
Right.
have the clerk. Hey, you want to play a role like I'm doing this movie? Let me use the space because that will add another 2-3 minutes, right?
Right.
So I sent them the idea, like a B script, which I have it coded so I know what I shoot first, and if I have time, what to do next.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
now I have another scene, but it has to do with the idea because he is looking for his father, and he's going to those places that he remembers his father went to,
Hmm.
and
Right.
one of them was the package store. And so that's an idea of how I'm like, oh, so it's never over. And
Right.
when I've exploited this main character, the doctor got his own life, the
Right.
nurse got her own life, the actual son of the guy has his own life, the wife has an upbringing. These people
Hmm.
already exist, so like I said, this could be a series with the right budget.
Right.
Yeah, and
Uh,
exploring different mental illnesses.
and
Mm.
also what I love about that too is you have the ability to tell the story from so many different points of view. That's
Yeah.
Yep.
something that truly I think gets lost on the audience is, imagine watching, I'll say Clerks, but only from Silent Bob's point of view. Like he's the camera this whole time and the main character instead of Dante. It's a whole different movie.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
There are totally different moments that would happen, like him going home to his house, or what adventures would go through there. and to sit here and have that opportunity, I think is really, really cool. And it's something that I've actually been hoping I would start to see in the visual platform. So thank you for having the intestinal fortitude, because we're on the air, to do that, you know. Hey man, I'm trying. All right, I'm tired. I had a long weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
Slip up once, shame on me.
Yeah, you know.
Slip up twice.
Yeah, but it's really, and I'm a big fan of giving flowers now. Like, I hope you understand how much you taking that step really does mean for the art form itself, because I do feel, there are so many other stories that could be told just
Oh
from
yeah.
a different character's point of view. And I hope, instead of getting like the next wave of, remakes or reboots, they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, here's, Gone with the Wind from this other person's point of view, and what it was
Yeah.
like to be this character during that horrible time in life. I really hope that that's what happens, instead of just telling the same story over
Oh yeah. And
and
that's the thing with short
over.
films. They're supposed to leave you on a little bit of a cliffhanger and wondering what
Mhm.
happened next. And with everybody involved now, like I said, a sustainable process where the audience, the investor gets what they want, which is, they get a story, they get to be part of something, they get to be associate in, or producers in it, and but then it's done, and then you share this moment at the premiere. The crowdfunding crowd gets their incentives that they wanted, and be part of it. Everybody has a part of it, and they're invested in it. So then when it's done and you see the result, there's no reason that we wouldn't do this again. And again, even if it's not my writing, um, stories need to be told. It just needs to be sustainable. But I mean, I created my own job, you know, before my green card even arrived. I was like, I'm going to do this. So
Right.
now I think we're going to create more than just my own job. I want to create, again, a sustainable, and it's almost like a theater company. I'm going to reuse these guys for everything I do.
Right.
I'm not their agent, but I want some agency where, we can continue to work more often, and turn this into a more sustainable situation. And again, there's businesses that can sponsor. There's a few that are going to be sponsoring, and then there's some people that I know are watching to see what happens on the first one. But after
Right.
that, it's going to be open, because people, at the end of the day, you got eyes on something, you got attention on something, um, then you can really, really exploit it in a good way, not abuse it, but use it,
Right.
because it is business, led, and it is supposed to be a sustainable business venture. It's not a hobby that we're gonna, like, well, let's do what we can. It's like, this has to, like, it's already hitting home with the concept.
Right.
So visually, I still have to deliver that entertainment part of it, which is like,
Right.
let me scare you a little bit into what it might feel like to not know who you are anymore.
Right.
But we do know who you are, Edwin. And unfortunately, we have the last 2 minutes here of our broadcast. We'd like to give this a little bit of time to our guest. Just tell about everything you got coming up within the coming year of 2023. And please plug that social media like we do for every guest at Behind the Brand. Go right ahead. This time is yours.
Thank you. So it's
Welcome.
at Director Escobar. That's Instagram, Edwin Escobar on Facebook. It says the director in parentheses.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty much focusing on this. As soon as I'm done with the editing process on this first one, and all we got to do is administrative process to premiere, I'm gonna start looking for the next story, and start getting either that person to start crowdfunding, or if they have an investor, start that process with them already. So it overlaps. So by the time we retire this movie to the last place where they go, which is Amazon Prime, we already going to be working on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because my goal is to do 5 short films, maybe, if possible, do at least 3 this year, another 2 this year, because after 5 shorts, I'm going to attempt to run for a feature film. A little more moving parts, uh, more expensive, actual payroll, like, people have to take a couple weeks off. But that is the goal. But I need to do 5 of these successfully to take up a feature film, because that has way more distribution opportunities.
Edwin, we
Oh,
thank
and
you
I'm going
so
to
much.
continue to see my baby girl grow.
Oh, absolutely. You got to put that part in the show.
Always. Every day. Every day.
Absolutely. We ain't knocking that part. And we're really happy to see you grow. We're happy to have you on the show again. Got to have you on multiple times. It's been great. We always learn great things about you, Edwin. And easy. Anything you want to say before we go off the air?
Yeah, but I'll talk about it with you. I got an idea for you, Edwin. It might actually help with that aspect because you still can do the music videos and stuff and have some of those actors pop up as like
Oh yeah,
Easter eggs in those music videos, in that like particular outfit they were gonna wear in that movie. I'm just saying,
you never
subliminally.
know. Yeah, I like
For we'll talk. I'm weird. I'm
absolutely.
But
wacky.
we can't talk no more on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Behind the brand, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City Made, EZ Blues. Thank you, Edwin. Appreciate you.
Have a good day, guys. Appreciate you.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just this gown? I don't know.